I'm Dylan Blood.
I'm Ryan Betson.
Take your tickets, take your seats. It's time for popcorn.
That enthusiasm. You can reserve your seat at You can reserve your seat every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on YouTube and all podcast services around the country. If you want a slightly more VIP seat, you can head over to the Facebook group at facebook.com/group/thepopculturist. Jump in, have a chat with us there. You'll also find a Discord link in the description below. But if you do want the super premium seats, head over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/popculturists. The Popculturist. You might find a tier that interests you. You stumbled me with all that just fucking.
You got it out. I got it out.
I got it out.
How you been?
I'm good, man.
Good. What have you been watching?
A lot of TV.
Oh,
actually.
we don't talk about TV here. Next in the news.
So you know, like, it's funny.
Okay.
This is how
that wasn't the joke.
No,
okay.
This is how my brain works.
Right.
My brain goes, I can watch a movie. I'm like, yeah, but I don't even really want to invest 2 hours. And then I'll proceed to watch 4 hours of South Park.
Yeah. You can watch 2 movies.
Apparently it feels different. I'm like, no, it's TV. It's different.
Well, you can decide a little more.
Yeah.
So you've been watching South Park?
Yeah, I've been watching South Park.
You watch South Park the movie? Bigger, better, and uncut. Some
glorious person has been uploading, like, live streaming episodes of South Park to YouTube.
Yeah, I saw that.
Ooh.
I looked for The Simpsons. They didn't have it.
There is sometimes Simpsons.
Oh.
There's I see Futurama a bit.
Nice.
I see Rick and Morty and some other ones. But like the one like Futurama interests me, and South Park every time. Every time.
Nice.
Getting myself pre-hyped, as you can see, wearing South Park shirts.
Yes.
Just constantly getting myself for the fractured
butthole. That game comes
butthole.
out in 2019.
Nope, October 17.
Sure.
2017.
Sure. Cool.
Oh, and I've also been watching Doctor Who with the wife. She's watching it again.
Which one?
For like the 15th time. I keep dropping in and out because she watches it while I'm at work.
Of course. Burns through them.
So yesterday, I'm pretty sure it was, like Matt Smith for a while. Came home today, it was, Capaldi. I'm like, what the fuck just happened? She's like, oh, I cleared like a season and a half.
You should have started with the one before because they're right next to each other.
Yeah. So they are, but no, but like the same day. It's like a season clear in a day. And I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, so she did the same thing. So she went from Eccleston to like, I'm like, oh cool, you're watching Doctor Who again. This is sweet. Yeah, literally like 2 days later, I come home from work and I'm like, this is the final episode of Matt Tennant. Okay, he's about to transform and he's Matt Smith now. I'm cool. That is that.
Number 13, the best Doctor.
And I've also just finished up the first season of House of Cards on Netflix.
Oh, is it good?
It's so
I couldn't get into it. I tried so hard.
It's so much smarter than me. Like every episode, like we don't watch them continuously because it's dense.
Yeah.
So at the end of it, I'm like, okay, hang on, let me just. All right, we're good. And then we put the next one. I've got to process it because like it's way smarter than me.
Okay. Is it very West Wing, very political?
It's political,
or is it good drama?
It's good drama. It's incredible performance by Kevin Spacey.
Yeah. Better than his performance in Call of Duty?
Oh yeah. So what I love about the character of Frank Underwood, as in everything he says has a purpose. There is no wasted dialogue. There is no wasted sentences. Everything he says has a purpose and intent. He's a very switched on man. Fucking fantastic show.
Interesting. There you go. House of Cards on Netflix.
Everyone knows about it. It's like 7 seasons in right now. It's good.
In Netflix now. Catch it on Netflix. All right. What about me? What have I watched?
What
That's a good question,
Dylan?
Ryan. That's a very good question.
No worries. Consider it.
So, busted out Smurfs, The Lost Village.
Is that the second or the third?
I think it's like a reboot.
I think it's the
third.
third.
Fully animated.
I think it's the
not,
third because there was like Smurfs 1. Oh, okay.
It's not this dodgy, like, we're in the real world and Barney Stinson's here. Yeah. None of that. None of that. It's legit. It's legit. It's about the story of Smurfette and how she came to be. She was made of clay, of course, by Gargamel.
The only girl?
Yeah, that's right. I don't want to spoil it too much.
Made by clay, so very Wonder Woman-esque.
Yeah, Gargamel made her to infiltrate the Smurfs. So he wants to make, like, I discovered why he finally wants the Smurfs. It wasn't to, like, do things to them. It was to catch them, and use their magic to become a powerful wizard and get hair back.
Oh, just to grow his hair back.
You want hair back as well.
Solid reason.
Yeah, so...
I know Josh understands. He would do many things to get his hair back.
He does have a bit of Gargamel about him. Does he have a cat?
No, it's a dog.
Brown dog?
Yes.
It could be like a cat. But yeah, spoilers. I don't know if you're interested in Smurfs Lost Village, but the Lost Village is full of other Smurfs that are all female.
Is there a token dude there? And he's like, hey.
No, there isn't. Well, I didn't see around to the NFL sleep at the end, but there were some bright colours and exciting things. It was pretty good. It was
So
alright.
is the other Smurf village like his first experiment with the Smurfs, and then?
No, they're just all the other Smurfs, as far as I'm aware.
So he didn't make. So he made these Smurfs.
He made.
Oh no, he just made Smurfette.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was under the impression that he made all the Smurfs. I'm like, he made all the Smurfs. How the fuck did he just make more himself?
Smurfs?
Yeah.
No, but it was pretty good. But what I have been watching since 17 weeks ago, 17 weeks, maybe more because they kind of skip things. Twin Peaks.
Ooh.
The revival, the return.
I didn't know it was out yet. So
Twin Peaks
where
2017.
Where the hell have I been for the last 17 weeks?
It's on Showtime. It's awesome.
Don't have Showtime.
It's so good. Do you ever watch Twin Peaks the original?
No, but it's on my list of many things I should watch. Because apparently it's in the same vein of like, like the incredible drama of like the yeah.
Well, it comes from a time 1990 before TV was good, and it kind of pioneered like the X-Files and the Sopranos.
That's to say, because like when you say Twin Peaks, I start thinking X-Files,
and it was like the big one where people were like hooked to their seats to find out what happened next. The first kind of one of the first
kind of like what
shows.
Then for us would be like Lost and Prison Break and Heroes, like none of as in like those when those shows were in their first season that they were
like the big
and
ones.
24 like the big strong cast character,
but mysteries, ongoing mysteries. So essentially, Twin Peaks in the 1990s was about this small town called Twin Peaks in Washington, and this young girl Laura Palmer, high school girl, turns up dead on the beach wrapped in plastic, and so they send down an FBI agent, Agent Dale Cooper, to investigate. And it turns out that it seems to be like a serial killer that he's been looking for in the past.
Oh, convenient.
And it's this wholesome town, and he really gets into the wholesomeness of it. And he's a bit quirky. He gets distracted easily. He's like, oh, what's this coffee? Or what's this pie? Or what's that kind of tree there? Or what's that kind of rabbit there? And he gets really excited about it. He likes the wholesomeness of the town because he's from the city. And the deeper they delve into the town, the more seedy it appears to be.
Okay.
And it's like this undercurrent of what Laura Palmer was, a wholesome high school girl, but then she's got this dark past that kind of opens up. The other thing is, because it's directed by David Lynch, at least the first episode was, he made weird movies like Blue Velvet and Eraserhead and Lost Highway, and they're like dream movies. Like, there's no logic to it. Weird things happen. It's like dream sequences. And in the third episode, famously, and they rip it off The Simpsons with Mr. Burns, where Chief Wiggum falls asleep, and Lisa's like, the clue, Burns' suit. That bit. Weird thing. Agent Del Cooper has a dream, and this little like kind of dwarf guy comes out, and he's like reversed. So he talks backwards, and they play it backwards. So he says things backwards, but when it's played in reverse, it comes out normal. And it was very bizarre and surreal. So they had one season, it was really successful. Season 2 came out like, just tell us who killed her. We want to know the mystery. Who killed Laura Palmer? So they told him, and they were like, we're not watching this anymore. No. And then the season 2 trickled off and got cancelled. 25 years later, they've come back to continue the series.
And now, in terms of this revival, is it going where season 2 left off? Is it more of are they soft rebooting it in the same way of he's back, but it's the serial killer again, sort of?
No, it continues it, but because it's David Lynch, he said that he wanted to make the show. He didn't know what the episodes were. He said, here's 400 pages of a script. I'm going to shoot it all, and then I'm going to figure out how to put it in sequence. So there's bizarre tangents it goes off on. There's sub-stories that go nowhere, and you're like, did that make sense? Like, oh, but didn't you see he looked that way? He looked that way means that he's that person's brother. And like, does it? And there's long sequences. The final episode aired Monday, I think it was. Long sequences of like a good 5 minutes of people driving in a car not talking. In the last episode of a television series, just driving. 5 minutes.
Did it set the scene? Was it tense? Or was it?
It was annoying. It was frustrating. It was confusing. It was a waste of time.
So I assume you're a big fan of OG Twin Peaks?
I watched it a few years back, about 5 years back, to get into it. And I like it. I like the weird. Usually I'm kind of like straightforward to the point. The older I get, the weirder the things I enjoy. Where I'm just like, it doesn't need to make sense. It's even funnier that it doesn't make sense. Like the weirder thing happens, and the weird thing is, every episode has scenes, and it seems like the direction is, all right, we have a scene at the end, just do something weird. And so every scene will be like, well, Ryan, I'm going to the shops to buy some food. Woo! And then they walk out, and you're like, what? Or the guys like, there's FBI agents talking to each other like, or the local police like, oh, we got to go to, frisk that guy. It's like, okay, I said frisk him now. Baby's asleep, and it's like, why did he just yell at him? Like, makes no sense.
Is it explained in the slightest?
No, some things are like the second to last episode seemed to wrap everything up perfectly, and you're like, it's all coming together. And then the last episode was like, no. Okay. It's not at all. And then they added all this other shit that made no sense.
Doctor Who is an example. Like the 10th, I think it was the 10th season. Like there's all these things littered throughout it. I'm like, what the fuck is all this random garbage?
Yeah.
And then at the end they've gone, oh, this. And like one moment you go, oh.
Well, they do that a lot with the Stephen Moffat ones where it's the bad wolf.
Yeah, like the bad wolf thing. For this one, I'm talking. It was mostly with Missy and the heaven, and and like at the end, it's like, oh no, the heaven's not a real thing. It's this place.
Or the one where it had Amy Pond's daughter.
Yeah, River Song. Oh my! Yeah. Oh, what a slow burn that is. That was like 4 seasons in the making.
And the cracks in the universe with Matt Smith and the what was it called? The box that they keep him in. That thing that all came together.
It's so good.
But yeah,
but in the same. So it had moments of that where it was like, oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's what made the first one so good. Like in The Simpsons, there's an episode where Homer's watching TV, and it's got the doo-doo music, and it's late night, and he's sitting on the couch watching TV, and there's a guy dancing with a unicorn with his arms up, and there's this traffic light going off on a tree, and it's like, damn, this is damn fine coffee in Twin Peaks. And Homer's like, wow, I have no idea what's going on. And that's what it's like to this day. But the good thing is, it's got like 200 cast members, and they got like a lot of the original people back.
Oh, awesome.
Even in just small roles, tiny roles, 25 years later. And a lot of the people had died since they made the original series, so they kind of worked the show around that to kind of fit them into it. David Bowie was in the movie version of Twin Peaks, and he returns as a kettle. Like a giant boiler that talks for no reason. He's the boiler. Why not?
So obviously he did the part before he passed away.
No, he just talks.
No, as in before David Bowie passed away, like he did.
No. He was in the movie in the 90s.
Oh, so in the movie he was the kettle.
In the movie he was David Bowie. Yeah. In the series they brought the character back, but he was a kettle and talks. But David Bowie had like this kind of twang, like American twang voice that he was doing. So they just kind of mimicked that.
The show sounds batshit.
It's awesome.
Like, wait, so is this the show? Because I remember there's the show where everything's taking place in the snow globe. What show is that?
Ooh.
That's not Twin Peaks, is it?
No, I do remember that though.
Oh no, that was
Picket Fences
fire,
or
something with fire. St. Elmo's Fire?
No, that's an 80s movie.
I'll come back to it.
I do remember. That's good.
Yeah, because I thought that was Twin Peaks. That seems batshit Twin Peaks stuff, but like, okay, cool. I'll remember. I'll try to remember what that is.
Oh man, there's just so much weird stuff you gotta watch.
Yeah,
so much.
That sounds weird. Like, don't get me wrong. Twin Peaks has been on my queue list on Stan for months.
It's not an easy watch. There was one episode in there where it was all silence for like 50 minutes out of the 60 minutes, and it was just watching weird things happen. Like there was a petrol station flashing through like different dimensions or worlds. 10 minutes. 10 minutes of this petrol station flashing, and like all these hobos like kind of going back and forth and flashing in between. 10 minutes, man. It tests you. Would this be definition of like art house shit? Yes, it is definitely art house shit. And the fact that he got to make it on like primetime television is just an F you to everybody. It's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. It's so awesome.
I like that as an idea. Is like, I want to make the show and we're going to do this. Yeah. There's a kettle that's David Bowie.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah, so many things. So
it's like that South Park thing. It's like like there's an episode where like they buy the Washington Redskins because fuck you, why not? Because that was right in that Indian controversy, and they sort of take the piss out of like Keynote, Apple and stuff. They walk on the stage and he's like, yeah, fuck you, you're gonna buy shit anyway, fuck you. It's kind of like that. He's like, hey, I'm gonna revive Twin Peaks. It's gonna be batshit crazy. Fuck you. And it's like.
Well, it was always batshit crazy. That's good, but it is kind of like Family Guy when they got the manatees running Family Guy episodes. A lot like that, where it's just like random ideas, put it in. So anyway, Twin Peaks revival, return, Twin Peaks 2017, whatever you want to call it, check it out. Season 3 might be called that too. Yeah, season 8 because fuck it. Yeah, because fuck you. Because just cause. So yeah, Twin Peaks. That is what I'm talking about there. Shall we jump to the news? So it's cool when old. Yeah, so it's cool when old things become new. Speaking of news. Speaking of old things becoming new again. A lot of all this is old things becoming new. So let's go through it. Good segue. Nice. So, director John Vogt Roberts. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Fuck it.
Director of this year's Kong Skull Island.
Sweet.
Is in talks. I think he's developing it. There's no like set cast or official pre-production, but he's working on a Metal Gear Solid movie.
Ooh.
So that'd be up your alley.
Oh yeah.
Is it Hideo Kojima or Hideo? Hideo Kojima. Okay. So big franchise. One of the top 10 franchises in video games.
It's one of the first franchises in video games to show how adult and how serious video games can be. Yeah.
Cool. So he said this about it at the moment. He said, well, the other thing is he directed a live action trailer for Destiny 2, which kind of ties in.
Oh, yeah. I think that came out like this week.
Yeah. So he was talking to Eurogamer about that, and he said, I can't go into it too much. It's not a direct adaptation of any particular game, right? Mm-hmm. It'd sound too much like a modern statement to call it a remix because that's not what it is. But it's trying to fuse a couple of different storylines together. And it's all tied together with a device that I can't really talk about right now, but I'm really excited about.
Yeah, that sounds like a Metal Gear.
And he went on to say, I think it's going to make a movie where people go, whoa, I've not seen that before. And that's very cool. And I think it's very Kojima in its approach. How do you feel about that?
Sweet. See, what's interesting... I'm fascinated to see how they do it. So the Metal Gear Solid franchise are dense as shit.
And just like David Lynch's Twin Peaks, they are just batshit weird.
Yeah, they're so
There's
batshit
weird tangents that go through them.
Like, okay, so you play as a character named Solid Snake.
That's correct.
Who has a brother, Liquid Snake.
Yes.
Then there was also another brother. So the way it works is that these are both genetic clones of Big Boss.
That's right.
Who's also known as Naked Snake.
Yeah.
Or in number 5, he's known as Venom Snake for some fucking reason. So the whole works is Solid Snake has all the dominant genes and Liquid has all the recessive genes. And then at some point, Solid Snake become president and he dies. And then there's a character named Ocelot. He's like really good. His name's Revolver Ocelot.
Yeah.
And then at some point, Solidus Snake, when he dies, the arm of Solidus Snake gets taken off and gets put onto Revolver Ocelot, so he gets sort of evil because he has the evil arm of Solidus. It's fucking batshit. And then there's all these different things, and there has moments where it's so incredibly grounded in sort of its politics and sort of what the messaging is trying to say. And then in the same vein, there's a character named Vamp who is literally a vampire. There is in the 5th one, there is a giant whale made of flames. There is a guy named Psycho Mantis who's this ginger person that can like float and fuck with you in the mind. I love the Metal Gear franchise. I've been playing them since PlayStation 1. Like, they hold such a special place in my heart.
A Metal Gear, though, is these giant
it's like a giant mech,
weapons.
essentially. That like they, if I remember right, they tend to hold like nuclear potential.
Yeah. And there's like Metal Gear Rex, which was like a Tyrannosaurus looking one.
And
That
there's
had
Metal
missiles,
Gear Ray, which is something slightly different again.
like a kind of like water thing. So that's what the Metal Gears are of it. And the Solid part is obviously Solid Snake.
Correct.
Do you think they can make a Metal Gear movie without Solid Snake? Do you think they'd Resident Evil it and just put Alice in it and just be
I don't know. It'd be very difficult because fuck you. What, like, one of the biggest selling point, like what makes Metal Gear Solid fantastic is Solid Snake.
Yeah.
The Metal Gear stuff is interesting and it kind of works, but because what they're doing right now is Konami are in the process of making Metal Gear Survive, which is like a zombie Metal Gear. Because now with Kojima off doing Kojima Productions, doing Death Stranding,
separated from Konami.
There's a very nasty split between the two, and no one talks about it. It's fucking horrible. As no one from Konami or Kojima, like they're all NDA'd to not say a fucking thing.
Ooh.
So like they're it's within the franchise, but it's an alternate dimension. It's poo. It doesn't look good. So like, what makes Metal Gear work is Snake. And so, for example, with Metal Gear Solid 2, you start the game, you think you're playing as Snake, and then he takes his helmet off, and it's fucking Raiden. It's this blonde haired white dude.
What is that? That's a ripoff.
Everyone's like, what the shit? And then later he comes back in, so it's fine.
Yeah, but you're not him. You're like, meet him.
But
he's like...
And they refer to him as Snake for the whole start of it. It's kind of like very misleading.
Yeah. What is his name? It was something Plissken, like Snake Plissken from...
well, that's where Snake comes from. He's... he's very inspired by sort of 80s cinema. So
Kojima loves Sergio Leone westerns. He loves John Carpenter movies.
Yeah.
And all of those things fused together to make these cinematic, epic.
Yeah, and there's
games.
speaking of Bowie, there's a lot of Bowie references, as in like a group of characters in like the Diamond Dogs and all these sort there's a lot of
it's
like that.
He's like Tarantino. Everything he loves, he kind of squeezes in and makes a new creation out of it.
And see, in that way, I think that would be a fucking fantastic movie.
I don't know. I feel like,
but I'm so scared of that because that source material is just way too much.
It's like Kojima should direct it, or he should co-direct it.
See,
Like
Kojima,
Rodriguez and Frank Miller doing Sin City. Should be Kojima and somebody else working together to make.
Because Kojima makes movies, but games. I think they actually talked about it once. I think it may have been at RTX. Like they had a big Q&A. He was like, "Yeah, I would make movies, but I can't get the storytelling that I want in movies. Like games is where it's at.
He could do like an anime.
So I can tell a big fucking story.
Couldn't he?
You could, but like I think a Metal Gear series would be interesting. Because how are they going to explain the Lali Lule Lo? You know what I mean?
Yeah, what he said.
They're like some under.
I remember there was the smoking monkey in number 4.
Yep.
I in the olden days, like the Resident Evil days of video game movies, they would probably do that. They just take a bunch of ideas, put it together, like there's that character, and the same name, and then another character looks like the character from the game but has a different name, and kind of mesh all these ideas together that turn out to be horrible.
They're like, what are the 5 things that make this game good?
Yeah.
Zombies. A house. We go. Done.
But even like Doom, where they're like, there's the Sarge and he's the Rock, and these things don't come from hell now; they come from an alternate dimension. And then you're like, well, why make it if you're going to change it so much? But I love Kong Skull Island; that looked amazing.
See, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Like Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson, they look like Nathan Drake and Elena.
Yeah.
Like it's the closest we'll get to an Uncharted movie. So
until we get an
Uncharted movie, and then I won't like it. So,
but it could be awesome. Could be horrible.
Could also be trash.
Yeah.
Speaking of trash,
Indiana Jones 5 is coming out soon. So there's been talk from David Kiep, who is the screenwriter on Indiana Jones 5 and has worked with Spielberg on some of his older movies, including The Lost World and other goodies. I did say here, and I've lost it. But he's now writing Indiana Jones 5. And he's officially announced that Shia LaBeouf will not, unfortunately, be returning as Mutt Williams, Indiana Jones' son.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
We've got a script we're mostly happy with. Hopefully, it'll be Spielberg's next film. And the Shia LaBeouf character is not in the film. How do you feel about that?
I've not seen Crystal Skull because I heard it was poo, so I stayed away.
There's the part where he's swinging on the vine, CG.
Yeah, but I like the part where it works out he may have just died of oxygen starvation in a fridge.
It was nuclear fallout, but
no, but I like that's the. I think that was the. Like a fan theory was that he never actually got out of the fridge. Like the entire illusion, like the Nazis and all that sort of stuff, is just all because he's fucking dying in a fridge.
Oh no! Well, he dies in the fridge. Well, he goes in the fridge at the start, so maybe the rest of the movie's not real.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, because he couldn't get back out. It's just like it's him starving of oxygen.
That'd be good. At the end of the movie, Harrison Ford, spoilers, gets married to Marion Ravenwood from Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Spoilers.
And their son is Mutt Williams from previous years ago. And Indiana Jones is getting married, and he drops his hat, and it kind of rolls off down the aisle, and Mutt stops it with his foot, Shia LaBeouf, and goes to pick it up and put it on to become like, oh, this is the new Indiana Jones. And Harrison Ford takes it off him, puts it on himself. So that was a nod to that, and they're like, no, he's not in it at all. Get him out. Out.
If I remember right, like was he not well received?
No, he was he was like this greaser kid in the 50s. But yeah, there was some horrible CG scene where he was in the jungle and he starts swinging from the vines like Tarzan. I think he even does like the Tarzan swing, like and people just like gave it so much crap. So he's not come back.
Speaking of South Park, there's a whole episode about how Indiana Jones. Yeah,
that's an awesome episode.
South Park rules my life this week.
It is good. So yeah, but Indiana Jones 5, like I think we googled it the other day and I can't remember. He's like 70.
Yeah.
Think about it. Do you know any 70-year-old you'd want to see leading a movie?
No.
An action movie?
No, I thought about it with Expendables and they were like 60 at the time.
Yeah, like 70.
The Grand Expendables was
but then even if they get it done, the movie's set to be released in 2020.
Who gives a fuck by 2020?
So that's like, 3 years away, and they're still got to do it. And so he's going to be like mid-70s. And Harrison Ford's come back for Star Wars. He hated Star Wars. He's back. Ching ching. hated Blade Runner. He's back to do that one. Ching ching. And I don't think he hates Indiana Jones, but he's back anyway. Ching ching. Like, is he buying a second house or
he's got a
15th house?
He has to repair all the planes he keeps crashing.
That's right. He's going to pay for those plane repairs. See how I just repeated what you said?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Very good. My concern is it's either that or the surgery for when he broke his fucking leg. So
Yeah, he did break his foot or leg. Yeah.
Like the door.
Well, they just keep making them. Speaking of characters coming back, Disney still going strong. So the other week we were talking about Disney remakes.
Mm-hmm.
And so The Lion King is pretty solid in
His cast is
nearing
phenomenal.
completion. So I'm going to go through the cast. You tell me what you think. Ready?
Yes. Are you going to say who they're playing as well?
Do you want to guess who they're playing?
Oh, yeah, sure.
All right. Yeah, we'll start with an easy one. James Earl Jones.
He's coming back from Mufasa.
Very good. So far, he's the only returning cast member.
That's fine, because he's the most distinctive voice in that.
Exactly.
So that makes sense.
Donald Glover.
He's playing Simba.
Old Simba.
Old Simba.
Yeah. So how do you feel about Donald Glover as Simba?
Fuck yeah.
Do you think he can sing?
He's a rapper.
Do you think he'll do some raps? Childish Gambino raps?
I think he might do. I don't think a bit of Childish Gambino can come out.
It's like, we won't sing, because Simba sings when he's young. I don't think he sings when he's old.
Well, because Matthew Broderick, isn't it?
Yeah, but
No, he does. He sings like, the I Can't Wait to Be King.
Yeah, but when he's a kid though. Jonathan Taylor Thomas did the young Simba.
Yeah.
Matthew Broderick did the old Simba. But does old Simba sing?
It transitions from when he's doing Hakuna Matata, and that's the only time adult Simba sing. When they walk up and then he's bigger, yeah. Sure. I think that's the only one.
There you go.
Because there's no real songs by the end of the movie because it gets starting to get fucking heavy.
Yeah, no, we got plot lines to get. We don't have time to sing. It's weird too. Disney movies should have singing towards the end. Like, they start off nice. They should sing while they're fighting in the climax. All right, so this isn't being solidified, but Beyonce.
Ashim Nala.
Yeah, very good. We've got Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Oh. I'm gonna say, Rafiki.
No.
Let's say like a shit whatever. Because Mufasa he's not Scar, because wasn't Jeremy Irons Scar?
Yeah, in the original.
Oh, he was too.
So
is he Scar?
He is Scar.
That's awesome.
Very good. All right, here's one for you. There's some other people that are just like nobodies, or people who are like they're in Parks and Rec or some crap, but I don't know who they are. So John Oliver.
Zazu.
Very good.
Yeah, dude, that is an incredible pick.
He'll be fun.
That is fucking perfect.
That's a good one. And one more known actor, Seth Rogen.
Pumbaa.
That's right. He played pretty good Pumbaa.
Yeah, dude, he'd be a fantastic Pumbaa. Like a really stoned Pumbaa. You're like, fuck, yes.
That's a pretty awesome cast.
It's a fantastic cast.
I mean, there are some. John Carney, who played Black Panther's father in Civil War, is playing Rafiki.
That makes sense. He had that really cool voice.
Yeah. And also Billy Eichner from Parks and Rec is playing Timon. He's like some skinny white looking dude. He's got like black hair, slick back, and he's really tall and skinny and white. I don't know who he is, but he's in it. I'll just get his name. There's no picture.
I'm gonna need to see who that is, because that doesn't ring a bell.
Yeah, but it's directed
because I
by...
love Parks and Rec, and it's baffling that doesn't ring a bell.
I think he's one of the characters in later seasons.
Okay.
Anyway, so The Lion King is set to be released in theaters on July 19th, 2019, and it will be directed by Jon Favreau, who obviously did Iron Man. He's done some kids movies, Elf and Zathura, and he did The Jungle Book, which was massive and looked amazing. So it's come on, it can't be bad.
Yeah, I second to Aladdin. Lion King is my second favorite Disney film.
Speaking of Aladdin,
not intentional segue, but there
you go.
Aladdin's
Aladdin is being worked on. It's going to be directed by Guy Ritchie, who did Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels, King Arthur recently, Sherlock Holmes movies recently.
Recently.
And there are some cast, but they're pretty unknown
Still
actors.
up in the air at this point.
So Princess Jasmine's going to be played by the Pink Ranger from Power Rangers. That is her official name now from the Power Rangers movie.
Yep. Interesting.
Not to be mistaken from Pink.
We met Princess Jasmine, the original, the OG.
We did. She's not going to be in it though.
No, it's a shame.
Oh, she could be. Maybe.
She was like it was one of those. We met her and I'm like, oh yeah, cool. And like a voice, I'm like, your voice is very familiar. She's like, yeah, I'm Jasmine. I'm like, get the fuck out.
You can check that out.
She was lovely.
But the big one is Will Smith as the genie. How do you think that would fare? Now, Will Smith, of course, is also a singer / rapper.
Yep. He also, I think he has a solid like quip delivery as well. Yeah. As we know from sort of like Fresh Prince and that sort of stuff. So I can see where they're going, but nothing. I think they understand that nothing will beat Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Like that is one of his signature performances, especially in terms of like kids movies. Obviously, you've got like Good Will Hunting, Dead Poet Society.
Those aren't kids movies.
No, but they aren't kids movies. They're way too adult for kids. But like, I think this is the outside of like what Flubber and shit.
Jumanji
and Jumanji, of course. But yeah, I can see where they're going, but
I can see it. I always said just do Robin Williams, just like animate Robin Williams in the movie. But apparently he signed a clause that you're never allowed to use his voice for anything else. Because he hates Disney because they screwed him over.
Yeah, because the part of the agreement was when he's like, look, I'll do the Aladdin movie as long as I'm not the key.
Yeah.
The key marketing. I want to be less. I think the agreement was less than X amount of percent on the artwork and cover and stuff. And the fucking DVD comes out, the Blu-ray comes out.
Yeah.
Sorry, the video at the time.
Poster, it's got like
it's just the genie. It's Aladdin, the genie, and everybody else.
Yeah. He's
so
like,
that's why
no more than like something, and they did like exactly
40%.
40, 60, and then everyone else is tiny 60, and he's like 40% of the poster.
I think. Okay, so that's why he didn't come back to Return of Jafar. That was Dan Castellaneta, wasn't it?
Yep. Yeah.
But he did come back for King of Thieves.
Yeah, they put it like a public apology in a newspaper. Yeah. But he was still like...
Still bit, yeah. So it makes sense. I think in the same way, because they're having Mufasa, so having James Earl Jones come back, but they're not getting him to... I imagine the script would be slightly different. I think it would be damaging to what they're trying to do if they just pull old Robin Williams, because like those although those jokes are funny and those pop culture references are solid, they're very time and place.
But do you think Will Smith has to do not impersonation of Robin Williams, but keep up with his level and do those kind of things where he turns into Lady Gaga or he does like an impression of someone? Because Will Smith doesn't do impressions.
Yeah, so that's gonna be interesting.
And the other thing is, like in Suicide Squad, where he's like Yol and. There were so many lines in the trailers where he's just like giving this kind of gangster slang to it.
Yeah,
like, you'll be crazy. And
I'd think Eddie Murphy, some sort of Eddie Murphy's delivery. I think that would be
that energy.
Some of the super energy. And Will Smith, I don't think has it anymore. But I don't. It's one of those problems. I don't know who would be the better pick.
Somebody who's good at like improv.
Get Louis C.K. in there. Why not?
He'd be like, I'm depressed, Genie.
And then talk about like rape and shit. It'd be really inappropriate.
Yeah, probably not. He was in The Secret Life of Pets. I don't think he talked about rape in that.
I'm gonna say let's not get Louis C.K. now that I think about it.
Well, at least we said it out loud so we could cross off the list.
At least like speaking of Parks, it's like not getting like Aziz or anything in, which is Aziz Ansari or whatever.
Yeah, he could be Latin. Wouldn't that be cool?
Give me the rug.
The Rock doesn't do anything. It doesn't talk.
Yeah, so it makes it funny.
All right.
His voice is frustrating.
All right. We're on a roll here. So, keeping in the wheel park of Disney and Star Wars Disney. So, today, I think...
At time of recording,
Yes, today at time of recording, director Colin Trevorrow has exited as being director of Star Wars Episode IX.
Big thing. Interesting thing. So, Colin Trevorrow did Jurassic World, right?
Yes.
What did he do before that?
Safety Not Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Which was awesome, but only a tiny indie movie.
Yeah. See, this is what's interesting. I feel this is in the same vein as Marvel in terms of we have a very clear plan of where we want these to go, and if you don't fit that creative plan, get the fuck out. That's how I interpret it. Whether they're going to say it's creative differences or mutual exit, but there seems to be an abundance of directors, but we'll get to, I want to talk about that later once we're done with Star Wars. But he's not the first guy to get the boot in the latest Star Wars either, is he?
No, he isn't. Well, should we just go into it, shall we? Let's go into the sordid history of Star Wars directors. Okay, so just on a side note, when they came to make Return of the Jedi, David Lynch, who did Twin Peaks, was approached to do it. Imagine that would have been trippy. But he said
shit.
He had good negotiation talks. And Spielberg was going to direct Return of the Jedi as well, and then he didn't. So there you go.
Who did?
Richard Marquand and he died in the early 90s in a car accident. So
that's horrible.
Didn't get to do much. But
So we can't get him back.
I could Tarkin him, CG him in there.
We're going to Tarkin the director.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
But yeah, Star Wars, once it was bought out by Disney, was headed up by Kathleen Kennedy, who has worked with Steven Spielberg from like Close Encounters, I think, from like all the way through the 80s, all the way through the 90s. Kathleen Kennedy, Frank Marshall, and Steven Spielberg, like the producing
Dream Team.
Yeah, Dream Team. The Chicago Bulls. The other sporting reference team.
The number one MVP team.
Yeah.
No good at sports.
But yeah, so she's heading up Lucasfilm. And they did The Force Awakens with J.J. Abrams. J.J. Abrams was hesitant to do it because he, loves Star Wars so much and didn't want to F it up, and he'd just done Star Trek, and it's, what would you call it? Conflict of interest, maybe. So J.J. Abrams did it, and it fused to the old style of Star Wars. They wanted to make it more like the originals, to the point where it is very much like the original.
Where it is almost a New Hope.
Like almost blatantly when you think about it. But it did feel like Star Wars. The same kind of locations, the same kind of characters. Brought it back to that. So that was their job, to bring it back to what it was and get the taint of sequel out, the prequels out. Then they had Rogue One. So they wanted to do these spin-off ones. So they got Gareth Edwards, who did Godzilla, and they got him in and did Rogue One. And it got to the end of Rogue One, and they were like, it's not really working. The ending isn't working well. So they got Tony Gilroy in, who was a writer on the Bourne movies, and he pretty much rewrote the ending completely, oversaw the reshoots, and sat in the editing hub with Gareth Edwards.
Oh, wow. Wow. And that's really having someone going.
Yeah, like right in your face all the time.
Like for hours. Like every time you got to make a decision, it's like...
Yeah,
like that's daunting. That's horrifying.
Tony says no, but Gareth Edwards stuck around for it.
To his credit, yeah.
And Rogue One turned out to be really good. It was for the better of it. Usually, studio interference kind of ruins a movie. Speaking of ruining a movie, Josh Trank, who was directing the Fantastic Four movie, and he had done Chronicle, they ripped it apart, and it turned into a flop. And he was tweeting mean things about them, and apparently went crazy and busted up his set or the hotel one day. And he was set to direct the Boba Fett spin-off. And there was Star Wars Celebration 2015, I think it was, and he was set to come out and show like some kind of prequel kind of footage, like just like previs footage. And he was sick that day, he couldn't go. And then a month later, he got left out of it. He got the boot. So then they had the Han Solo spin-off movie. And Chris Lord and Phil Miller from 21 Jump Street, 22 Jump Street, Lego Movie, and Cloudy with Chance of Meatballs, were 4 months into shooting the movie, and they said, yeah, no, this is not what we want. And apparently they were doing, because they're comedy guys, so they do a take, and then they try and improv some stuff. And they got a lot of comedic actors. Donald Glover is in it, of course. There's Lando Calrissian. And yeah, they said, no, we don't want it, creative differences. But into shooting is crazy. So they got Ron Howard in, who had worked with Lucasfilm for Willow back in the 80s and is a veteran director. And he's given high fives and thumbs up and tweeting pictures everywhere. So we'll see how that turns out. But there's discussion of what the credit's going to go to. I think if you have to direct at least 60% of a movie to have your name on the credits.
Because there's the same problem they're having now in Warner Brothers with Justice League. Now, my understanding is they are literally calling it a Zack Snyder and Joss Whedon picture.
Ooh.
Last I heard.
Interesting. See, but then that seems to imply that Joss Whedon's done a lot on it.
Word is he has.
Because he got co-writer credit recently.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
But I think that's a good respect to Zack as well.
Yeah, well...
And having Joss Whedon, a name attached to fucking anything, is like money!
We'll see if he can, put the magic touch on it. But, so there's been a lot of, like, these... ins and outs of Star Wars.
But it's not just not just Star Wars as well. Like, my sort of what I want to talk to with you about it is in terms of this. Now, Star Wars obviously very, very clear direction. They want it to be something very particular.
Yes.
Same goes for Marvel. They had the same thing, and that's example why Edgar Wright was booted from Ant-Man simply because his Ant-Man didn't fit the MCU anymore.
Yeah, I can imagine what that would have been.
Yeah, would have been great. Like there's still a lot of Edgar Wright in Ant-Man, but So my sort of theory is with every studio having this preoccupation for a giant franchise, and this, because of these franchises, they're announcing movies incredibly early and directors incredibly early. Do you think this is like that's a... Can't think of the right word, but you think that's a symptom of this larger issue, having all these directors sort of bail on things?
I don't know. I think it's setting up a way that it's deterring people now. Like, think about it. You're a director. What they do in the Hollywood system now is it seems to be you do an indie movie and you become an indie darling. They like it and they're like, you know what? You did an indie movie. Let's give you a franchise movie.
That's what I tried to do with Kevin Smith in the 90s. It's like, hey, we really like... In Chasing Amy, you talked a lot about comics. Do you want to do a Superman movie?
Yeah.
And he's like, what?
Yeah, he's like, there's so many other people that are great at Superman, like professionals.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So like Colin Trevorrow did Safety Not Guaranteed, Jurassic World. The Robert, what was his name? Jordan Vogt Roberts did Kings of Summer, which is a small indie movie. Here's King Kong. You know, and it's this huge jump for people, and it's a pressure that must go on it, and working with a huge crews. You might even make an indie movie with like 20 of your friends, or you know, small crew, and then you go on to this massive picture with this $1 billion pressure on you. So let's say you're a director, even if you're an established director, and you're like, yeah, do you want to do a Star Wars movie? And you're like, okay, can I do my vision? No, we want David Fincher, who's got a very precise, specific tone and style. Do you want to do Star Wars? He's like, yeah, okay, I want to do this, this, and this. No, you have to do this. He's like, well, no, I don't want to do it. Or say yes, halfway through, they're like, you get the boots, and then you're like, you're that guy that got fired from Star Wars, you know, you've tainted now. Or if it turns out bad, then you're like, you're the one that made the bad Star Wars movie. Like, what's the advantage in it for them? If they can't be creative, and if you don't utilize their skills, you know, the things that make them that specific kind of director, why not just get like generic cookie cutter director to come in and do it?
That's exactly the point I'm making. Like, I certainly feel it's them going, we have X named director on it. Like, oh man, like an example. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's going to be a bad movie, but then like we've got James Wan for Aquaman. I'm like, holy fuck! Like, that movie's not coming out for years. I'm like, but I'm interested in Aquaman because you got James Wan on it. That's awesome. You know, but that's that same thing, right? You know. You could go. Kevin Smith is directing. Then, you know, speaking of, you know, indie darlings, whatever. He's directing episode 9 now. I'm like, that's awesome, but it's not going to be very Kevin Smithy. Yeah, I mean, and like, I understand in terms of like, it hurts my brain because I'm like, there's all these people that I think would handle these properties incredibly well. And they're just not going to have the chance to. Because, like, why? If I was them and I would, like, you want to direct Star Wars? I'm like, no.
I'll be like, yeah. And then,
fuck no.
But yeah, Chris Miller and Phil Lord, you know what kind of style they make.
Exactly.
And you must get them for that. And then you're like, no, don't do that. Or tone it back, or whatever it might be.
Like, so we want, because, you know, Han Solo's got quips. Yeah. You guys are funny. Bring, you know, it's just that's like, I'm clearly being a studio guy. Yeah. You guys are funny. You know, bring them. You know, can you bring that sharp, quippy humor? Like, yeah, and this is how we do it. Sure, we'll see how it goes. You're like, we don't like it.
Yeah,
like,
there's too much.
This is exactly what you got us here for.
Yeah. And couldn't we
like
discuss
Judd
this?
Apatow in on a Star Wars movie.
Exactly, but like you discuss what it's going to be, and you have like 6 months of pre-production and get to know everybody and get your vision out, and then you get on the set and you're like 4 months into it, or 4 weeks into it. I don't know if it was months or weeks. Weeks seems more likely. And then they're like, nah, like that's weird. That's a lot of weird. Like messing everybody around, and especially with Colin Trevorrow on Star Wars, they still need to hit the set date that they've got. It is coming out. I thought it was 2019 because they wait a year every year. Yeah, which it is. So it's coming out May 2019, but they've still got to hit that. So they need to get a director soon, or they're going to be in trouble.
See, and that's the other concern as well. Then they're sort of like. So I'm just getting up some questions and stuff. So that's the problem. They're left chasing their tails, and whoever comes in has to go, what the fuck do I do with all this?
Yeah.
Like, we don't have time to reshoot anything. So you want me to have this? You want me to match this tone? That's not my tone.
And then you literally have to sit down and sit in a screening room and watch hours upon hours of takes to see every single take, to see what you're going to use, what you're not going to use, what kind of match you can do to it, the level that the actors have, changing everything with the actors. It's a massive stress on everybody. Ryan Johnson is currently directing episode 8.
Can't wait to see that. I think Ryan Johnson is going to be great.
Chances are you think they would get either JJ or Ryan Johnson to come back and do 9.
I think they might try to get Ryan back.
Yeah, because he said that he'd love to do another Star Wars in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And it seems like the likely choice. That he's worked with the actors. They got him to write the second one as well.
Because Trevorrow had no writing involvement, yeah?
Exactly, yeah. So it seems interesting that... come on, the likelihood is that he would do it. I mean, it might have been a big, massive task, like Joss Whedon with the Avengers Age of Ultron. You just pooped and you don't want to do it ever again. I guess he's had that distance now to do Justice League and not be that involved. But whether Ryan Johnson is up to going straight into the next one?
Yeah.
But then again... you got to let it come out, It's still 4 months away, and they need to get shooting soon or get, well underway to get episode 9 underway. But you'd kind of want 8 to come out and get a reception from that first, wouldn't you?
What was it, sorry?
You kind of want Ryan Johnson's episode 8 to come out and see what people think before you're like, yeah, you're definitely doing 9.
Yeah, because that would be worse. So like, yeah, we've got Ryan Johnson do the 9th. No, the Last Jedi didn't go too well. Ryan Johnson leaves 9. Like, you don't have two. Like, I'm thinking of a movie recently that's had like multiple directors fucking bail out on it, and there's got to be some.
Well, the thing is, like, there were days before the internet, and people didn't know that directors were fired and things like that. Like Superman 2 was one that happened.
That's the other point I was trying to make earlier. So is this like indicative of? Us feeding that hype culture where they need to get their shit out there. Like back in the day, you wouldn't even know. So if the movie crumbles and burns, no one knows.
Or you're like, that movie seemed a bit, had some weird tones in it. That's strange. And then years later, you'd realize it was.
Like, you watch the DVD behind the scenes, and you're like, oh, yeah. And I understand. As someone that tries to bring the news together, there's not a lot of big news that happens. It's kind of like a bunch of little pieces you have to sort of to bring together. But even like because they're trying to pull news out of an industry that keeps reasonably tight-lipped. Yeah,
especially with things like Star Wars or these big kind of franchises that they want to keep the mystery to. It's harder and harder to do that, so less and less information comes out. So any little grab that they have, people jump on.
I think that's sort of that's the problem as well. They want to. I don't know whether they want to say tight-lipped. It's like weird kind of like, but they feel the need to announce it super early.
But I think it's kind of an idea of a test. It's like a test screening almost. We're like, we're doing Green Lantern, and people are like, yeah, nobody cares. And like, okay, well, we're not doing Green Lantern then. We're doing a Cyborg movie. I don't want to see Cyborg. Okay, we're doing Shazam. Yeah, Shazam. All right, let's keep doing Shazam then.
Shazam, yeah, let's do that eventually.
And this kind of thing, like where they're like, we've got James Wan, like, wow, James Wan, that'd be cool. Or like, we've got, James Wan. I don't want to see the horror director doing Aquaman. Screw that. And then they're like, all right, well, James Wan, you're fired.
So we have an interesting. So I read something a little bit interesting. Now, normally, as I'm sure, if you're a regular watcher or listener,
which I am,
we get questions from the peoples.
Yes,
we did something a little bit different today.
Okay.
We said this is the topic of the week. Let us know what you think. Now I'm going to read out the probably most in-depth response.
Okay.
This comes from James.
Ooh.
Not my son. He says, so brace yourself, sit back, make up tea. At the end of the day, Disney/Lucasfilm have the story in their pocket, so it's not really up to the directors to decide that. So this is the question we sort of posed in a very similar vein. It's a very similar vein. Though this does breaking Colin Trevorrow is no longer directing. In a classic quote, "We couldn't agree, so we agreed to disagree" statement, Lucasfilm confirmed the step down. Though this does beg the question, as it's the second time this year that directors have left the franchise, in June with Phil Lord and Chris Miller, left with Han Solo, are studios looking to make big bucks as opposed to great stories? Do the studios want their films to fit in their cookie cutter templates, or having directors leave a good thing? So as James said, at the end of the day, Disney/Lucasfilm have the story in their pocket. So it's not really up to the directors to decide that. Not necessarily a good thing, but in the case of Marvel, letting Kevin Feige have the reins has worked wonders. And the same we've got with I blanked out on the woman from Star Wars.
Kathleen Kennedy. So far so good.
Yep.
2 for 2.
That's it. The films match up. There is a continuity within the stories, and the events match up. The overall tone is consistent, although the emotional tone is appropriately different depending on the events of the film. Plus, Colin Trevorrow's The Book of Henry was crap. Jurassic World succeeded mostly on merits of its dinosaurs and Chris Pratt, which I sort of agree with. I don't think it'll be a bad thing. The real question is, who do they get to do it? Joss Whedon has said he'd love to do a Star Wars, but he'll be busy making Batgirl around the same time as 9. It needs to be done, so that's not an option. Who's the director? So who's the director they can grab for this? And do this not only... Wait, what? Who's the director that they can grab to do this and do this not only well, but do it the way they want?
Mm-hmm.
So goes into our next question. Who do you want to come in to do Star Wars?
I want to see Kathleen Kennedy direct. No. Well, obviously, like we just said, Rian Johnson would probably be the obvious choice. They could get Ron Howard to do it. They need someone they can trust. I don't know what J.J. Abrams is up to these days.
Yeah, so Jess, who does our social medias for us when we're not posting.
Sure.
Kevin Smith, she posted Kevin Smith's tweet, funny enough. I've been talking about him the whole time. He's mentioned Ron Howard. He'd be cool to see Ava DuVernay.
I think the guy that did Prisoners, I think.
Yep, James Gunn or Spielberg. But he goes, why not let George come back and finish his epic?
No, maybe not.
No.
They're not going to let George Lucas come back.
No, not a chance.
He wouldn't do it.
This is the thing. I don't know who I'd want to pick because I will once again.
Didn't they do Selma?
See, James Gunn would be an interesting pick because he nails the big space, not space opera, but the big space feel in the movie that he's made. But I think the tone, what I'm assuming, is very different.
Well, it depends what this one is. Is it going to be dark like Empire Strikes Back? Because J.J. Abrams' The Force Awakens is very... Even though bad things happened in it, was light and fast and adventure. It was just high adventure. And I think this one's going to be very much like The Empire Strikes Back in tone, not story, where it's dark and gloomy and depressing. And I think that might continue on to 3. But again, we don't know what 9's going to be. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to tell. This one will determine what that would be. Directors wise, from the sounds of it, you get anyone. You get just someone who is a working class director.
Yeah. Who directed the McDonald's, commercial?
Yeah,
that's on TV right now. Fuck any
McDonald's commercial guy. You couldn't get someone who's like an auteur who has a specific style. Like you couldn't get Michael Bay to do it because he would just have sweeping, his style. He wouldn't do it unless he could do it that way. So I guess it is good.
This is more a question for you because you know a lot more directors than I do. I know my wheelhouse of directors, and none of them would match.
You do a Quentin Tarantino.
That was my wheelhouse is like Smith, Rodriguez, Tarantino, like just not doable.
Rodriguez could do a Star Wars. You could get like somebody the same kind of thing. Mark Webb did 500 Days of Summer, which was like an indie-ish movie, and then he did The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and those didn't really have a specific style. They were kind of just like superhero movies.
Yeah.
He could come in and do that. I get the idea that they get these young people that show promise, but then they can control them because they're not huge directors with egos or a history behind them. So they might just go and do that, get somebody new again. But then it's a massive franchise they don't want to take a risk in. So it seems a safe bet to use someone they've already used. Gareth Edwards, who did Rogue One, they could bring him back to do...
That'd be good. Rogue One,
if he'd want to come back, depending on how much they were like...
Yeah, well, who's the other guy? I mean, the other guy back.
Get Tony Gilroy to come in.
Tony Gilroy. What's
Tony,
up?
Get in there and fix it. Yeah, I don't know.
The cleaner.
Just
Tony Gilroy, the cleaner.
He's the janitor. Just comes in and sweeps it all up. Was that the question?
That was pretty much the question. Yeah, so he gave his explanation and his sort of question.
Good points.
Yeah, it's all the points that we sort of made. Be like, they want that cookie cutter sort of.
Well, then again, like Rogue One was a bit like a war movie and it was a bit grittier and stuff like that. But again, you've got to kind of have the wipes. Like I think he tweeted out Rian Johnson. He said, like, A New Hope 27 wipes. The Last Jedi 14 wipes. So there's not going to be that much to it. Those many style things. I don't know. I think they could take Star Wars in new directions. I think that's what the standalones are for, to kind of push the boundaries enough so that when it gets to like episode 12 or something, you can start to blend it all together and get further away from like the locked off shots and wide panoramic kind of things. Get some more handheld stuff in there and make it more modern.
See, because that's what I like. Speaking of like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, when they have sort of different tones, where like Ant-Man, heist movie. Winter Soldier is a spy movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that would be something they'd be great to do because although they're part of a trilogy of movies with Captain America as an example, they are structured and written in such a way to be somewhat single stories.
But
with Star Wars isn't. Star Wars is always sort of been a more
at least the
sweeping
saga ones are. Maybe the in between ones they can do. But yeah, like the Marvel ones, like Joe Johnston coming to direct Captain America: The First Avenger. He did The Rocketeer, so he had that kind of 50s. Like kind of 30s, I think it was, kind of style to it, pulp kind of adventure thing. So they kind of do. Marvel seemed to be a good example where it all is the same kind of tone. And there was that video we watched about how they all look the same,
all the same, and they're all scored the same. Yeah,
and they're all scored the same exactly. But they're good movies though. As much as they're like made by a company and they have a strict way to make the movies, they're all very different to each other. They've got interesting characters, they've got stories to tell, but they're still compelling and they fit in the universe. But they kind of get directors that kind of have a little bit of a style to bring themselves. But it doesn't always work out in the instance of Edgar Wright. It's too specific in what he does. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if the movie's good, the movie's good. I don't care if 4 directors made it. If it's the best movie in the history of the world.
If you get any more than 2 directors, it's a sign of the bad times.
No,
and the writers, like Green Lantern, like the Ryan Reynolds one.
Yeah.
3 directors, 7 writers.
Yeah. Once you've got like 7 writers, you wonder how they get it put together.
But anyway, what do you guys think? What's your thoughts on Colin Trevorrow sort of making the way out? Who do you think should come in? What do you think this means for the Star Wars franchise as a whole? But stepping away from what's coming in the future, super future, what is in cinemas this coming week?
It.
Yeah.
Stephen King's It. Pennywise the Clown.
Reviews are coming in, high 9s.
Well, I don't know. I haven't seen any reviews, high 9s. They've been hyping it. Like, they're like very happy with this movie.
Dude, he looks dope. Can we go see it? We got tomorrow night.
Well, I might go and see it in America. I might go to the Man's Chinese Theatre and see it.
When are you going to America?
Next week.
Fuck off, really?
Yeah. So I wanted to go and see a movie that was like, oh no, he didn't, and had the crowd screaming and like interacting.
You weren't kidding. Like you like 2 weeks ago, you're like, I'm going to America.
We're out of here.
Wow. What a quick
so
turnaround.
I want to see it in the Man's Chinese Theatre. You know, the famous one where they had Star Wars.
Where are you
premiere?
going in the Americas?
Los Angeles. Damn. The City of Angels.
Fuck, I hate you.
So I want to see that. I wish that because it comes out Friday in America, but it'll be the second week. So hopefully it's still busy. If it's popular, it'll probably still be busy.
Yeah.
But I want to go to a screening where people are like screaming and interacting and stuff. In my mind, I think that's what it's like in America. Probably might not be.
I kind of wish you told me sooner so I could plan accordingly for show content wise, but that's cool.
We'll find out next week.
Can you vlog your time in America?
I'll see how it goes.
Yeah, the Jacinta will kill you. You vlog the whole time.
Well, she can vlog for me. She can hold the camera and I'll just host. But yeah,
you have to do a supercut of like your time in America.
I think I will.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, but I'm excited. I want to see that with an audience that will be interactive and get scared.
I'm keen as shit to see it. So if you're not going to see it, I was going to say let's go see it tomorrow. But you know, fucking being a dick.
I'll save it. I don't think I can.
I'll see if Josh is free because he'll probably come around to want to film things. I'm like, yeah, I've got to film this other thing anyway. So,
but there's a big hype about it, and they've got like they're just concerned that the clown hysteria is not going to come back. Remember, there was like last year there was a whole lot of clown sightings that were freaking people out.
Yeah, that had nothing to do with anything though. Like,
well, it's just like copycat clowners.
Because I remember like, there was a American Horror Story had a lot of clowns last year. You know, when we talked to Brian O'Halloran, and like, does this mean Volga's coming back? He laughed. He's like, if only. Which Volga 2 was on in this works. I don't think it'll bring that clown hysteria. Like, granted, they're doing some really cool shit. Like they've got balloons like scattered around town, it's like real creepy. And then I've read an article today that was like, yeah, this is like really good idea until the balloons pop and fucking chokes out a possum or some shit. I'm like, calm your shit, man.
Yeah, people ruin things. But in the story of it, at least in the TV movie and the novel, part of it is when the kids are young, and then the second part of it was when they're grown up and they kind of encounter Pennywise at the start, and then they grow up and come back together in this small town, and then they battle him at the end. And I'm pretty sure this is just the first half of that.
That's from what I'm understanding. Yeah,
where they're just kids. And so the sequel they said, will the sequel be adults? And they're like, no, the sequel will still have the kids. And then the adults as well, maybe. So it's hard to tell because they've made some changes and things that Stephen King has approved of course.
Yeah, so I think
I don't think he looks scary, though.
Not...
At all.
Yeah.
He looks dumb.
Yeah,
I'm not scared of clowns.
But what if he does that cool with dysmorphy
If he does the morphe thing, I'll be scared. But he's got this weird bulbous head.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think IGN's review is pretty much like it is not the best Stephen King material. However, it is. However, it's probably close to. There are some things that are very different, obviously, to his source material, but it's still a good. Like they gave it like a 9.2 or something. So.
Wow, I'm excited.
Yeah, like when you get a horror movie in the 9s, I'm like, yeah, I got to see that shit.
Yeah,
that's what made me saw The Conjuring. Like I love The Conjuring, but like I didn't know at the time. I'm like, ugh. And that's like, yeah, it's like a fucking 9 out of 10. I'm like, nope, I'm seeing The Conjuring.
Yeah.
And I loved it. Straight up loved it.
I'm excited. Well, if you're excited too, you can catch it in cinemas now as this is airing.
Was that the only thing coming out this week? Oh, as of today, there was the one-off screening of the Slipknot concert as well, which I was going to go to, but it didn't. And then anyone else to go
It's
with.
happening right now. You just
that's all that's coming out this week?
That's the big one. There's other indie crap that nobody wants to see.
Sweet. Anyway... who does the spiel in this show? Is it you or the other person?
You do it.
Fuck. All right. If you liked what we talked about here today and you want to see it again next week, you can always reserve your seats for every Friday 9 a.m. on YouTube and all podcast services around the world. If you want the premium seats, you can head to facebook.com/group/popculturist. Join in the conversation there, as well as the Discord channel. Link is in the description. If you want the VIP seats, you can head over to patreon.com/thepopculturist. There's a bunch of tiers there. Maybe there's something that interests you. You can spend your hard-earned dollars this way. Would certainly appreciate it. It is not funding his trip, by the way, just so you know. And you still have your money for EB Expo, you dick. So I'm glad you're going to America.
Could maybe. And that, for now, is a wrap.
I forgot to do your fucking names again. I'm Ryan Betson.
I'm still Dylan Bowden. And that is a wrap.
How much better?
Wrap. Stop. Wrap.